are determining how much information is really important for your class to take away. I will tell you that in the last 3 weeks, I've seen a wide variety of ways that broad information has been shared. And so I want to pose a question to you as we cover our information today. How do you as teachers determine what is the most important for your students to remember? Because how many of you think that everything that was in this 6-7 page article is key for each of you to remember? So how do you determine what's important for your students to remember? Sheila?
It's discussed more than once, and we come at it from different angles, so that different types of learners can learn it.
Okay.
So it's not something that's passed over just one time or in one way.
All right.
Are you asking that from a student's perspective?
I'm asking it from a teacher's perspective, right down to the side. You have this information. You've identified for yourself as a learner what you knew, what you wanted to know, and what you actually learned. But now, a lot of times what we see as transfer is then we go to what the teacher has as their formal presentation of what they wanted their students to pull away from that article. And so my question to you, as teachers in this building, because I've seen it very different across the board in this building, how do you determine what's important from the material you give your students? Pat?
Okay, Trace just said Common Core, but in my world, it's like what I'm going to want them to use again next week, next month, next year, 4 years from now.
So how they build off of each other, which also goes to what Sheila, I believe you were trying to explain as well. So right now, I'm in agreement with you that everything that was in this article is not information that I want cemented in your brain. But what do you think I see more of as far as the information then that is transferred to the students from the materials that they're taught? Whether it's in a PowerPoint or it's in notes or in chapter reading. I'm not sure what you're asking. Trivia. What do we learn by the process?
Modalities?
No. Hold on, let me come to it. What I'm asking is, I'm trying not to dummy my question around at the same time. No, I understand, but it's my problem in the question. It's not in your understanding. It's the way I'm presenting the question. So that's where I'm trying to.
Or give them a bunch of crap they don't need to know.
That's one way to ask it. Okay. But even in the way it's presented, because I have seen where, okay, let me show you what I think is not a good or strong overlay. Right now, if I were pulling the key points from this article to go through, I just kind of created bulleted information that I would then expand upon as I was lecturing to my students. But look at that list, because even as I re-looked at this list, I still don't want you to know all this stuff. And why am I coming to that realization? Because this is the first list I came up with. These would be the key points that I thought were in this article. So we have not the same brain that you're born with, and so I would talk very much about what Dr. Zandina talked about, where, the brain that you have as an adult is not the same brain you were born with, and that there are a number of factors that determine the plasticity of your brain, the environmental factors, you grow up in, the experiences you have, But that's not all there. Brain cells basically, to me, when I read this, I read it as a transfer of neurons. And so for me, that's how I broke down that key point. Do you think I see bulleted key points, or do you think I see, here is everything that I possibly could pull from this chapter for a student to know?
biology teacher teaching about the brain. Yeah, you gotta know that stuff.
Okay, so then so it's very content driven as far as, because then that is appropriate as far as building off of, because it's gonna be referred to. Absolutely. But do I have every definition listed here?
No.
Not right now, I don't know. But is that important for all of our students?
Are you asking if the definition itself is important for the students?
I'm asking, do I have enough information on here to be able to build a discussion from within my classes based on reading? Or do I need more here for my students? Do I need more in my presentation?
Depends on the student.
Okay?
And some students are very detail oriented and will want more information to understand it. And some are okay with broad because they're the kind of kids that listen and understand by listening and needing that detail on the board. Does that make sense?
It does. So what are you using to drive that decision for you? If you know you've got these students who, we have special ed students who they have to have whatever notes you expect them to have given to them ahead of time. And then we have students who, you could just have the brain, know the functions of the brain, know the parts of the brain. I mean, you could even go broad like that. And they would be able to tell you, oh, there's dendrites, there's axons, there's synapses, there's ways that the transmission takes place. You have to worry about gray matter and white matter, and yeah, give it all back to you. Again, what's the key?
Providing the information to all kids in their way. So you could
Bring
write
it
out
up.
what they already used, right?
Okay, Liz?
Well, since we only have 1 minute left,
I know.
will you
I
tell
wanna
us
plan.
what the key was that you wanted?
The key that I wanted was overall, I want you to know that you have 25 different learning styles in your classrooms. And that the way that their brains work, right now, even though they have the basic operations that we even have, the same makeup, the way that it's communicated within itself is not the same from kid to kid. And if we constantly continue to operate like a 1900 classroom, we're going to keep losing kids. We're not going to have those connections to happen. So that's what my overall key point is. We've got to be looking for ways to reach our kids. And I tell you what, there are kids that works for 100% of the time. But more and more of our kids, that no longer works for. And so looking at ways to, Pat, I hope you don't mind me using you as an example. When Pat taught me art, she broke it down to math, because I could understand it that way. But then, I don't remember who the student was next to, she broke it down to spatial. And it was a very different way. And that's where I guess that point kind of hit home to me. And I see that in our classrooms all the time. I see where this student has all of the notes. And this student has a whole different setup of ways that he keeps his notes. But it works for that student. And then I have this student who has nothing, and I'm really concerned about what are they getting all together. Does that answer your question? Okay. What was my overall concept? Change. I overplanned for today. I apologize. I always do this. So for vocabulary, our next building PD date is September 25th. Correct? Am I correct on that? Okay, September 25th is our next building PD date. Please bring those vocabulary again, because I want to be talking about some different strategies that will help your students acquire the language. You only got one today.